Welcome back. Now, lots to talk about here. The latest Chicago police shooting forcing the city's mayor to cut short a family vacation to Cuba. All eyes are on Rahm Emanuel to see how he handles his embattled police department and the growing calls for his resignation. Here to discuss is a Washington bureau chief for the Chicago Sun-Times, and that's Len Tweed, and then CNN political commentator, op-ed columnist for the New York Times, Mr. Charles Blow. Good morning to both of you. Len, I want to start with you. The LaGreer family says the wrongful death suit that the officers shot their son didn't provide any medical attention. What will this revelation do, you think, to the city of Chicago?
Well, this is part of just the bigger story of why these shootings happened, Don, and the turmoil that the city is in now because of the lack of trust of police and just the crisis that Mayor Emanuel is facing when he comes back from Cuba today, if he gets in, weather permitting.
He is rushing back from Cuba. He's been there since mid-December. Is this too little, too late? Are people viewing it as too little, too late?
Well, it's the worst crisis of his career when he left because of the Laquan McDonald shooting. That was the shooting, as so many people may know, of the 17-year-old who was shot 16 times by a Chicago police officer charged with murder. Then Rahm Emanuel goes to Cuba. There are these two killings we're talking about today, a 55-year-old grandmother, just an innocent bystander, and a 19-year-old college student. So he comes back to a worsening crisis, if you can imagine it. So the City Hall is expected to maybe announce some more measures today to try and deal with police behavior and use of force. But a lot of this comes, I don't know, you asked, is it too little, too late? I know it's late. I don't know if it's too little, but there probably
it is late.
Much more.
Before I get to Charles, I want to ask you, you have some inside details on the Cuba trip. What can you tell us?
Well, Cuba, we're still dealing in a new era of tourism with Cuba since the thaw a year ago between the U.S. and Cuba. When Rahm went there, the City Hall was pretty secretive about the trip, including the length of it. But when the shootings happened, Rahm Emanuel tried to get back. There's no regular schedule airline service, as if you could just fly from Miami to Chicago or Washington or New York. So he was, in effect, stranded there, delayed there. He couldn't come back immediately.
Yeah. I want to turn to you now. What are you talking about this now? This comes as we have been talking about the deaths of black people, for a year, 2 years now here on CNN. It's been happening a lot longer than that, but now we're providing more context. We're getting to see it through cell phone video, through surveillance video. What does this mean to that picture now, what happened in Chicago, what the mayor is dealing with, what the families are dealing with?
I mean, right. I think it's like Len said, it's part of a bigger picture, right? And in terms of what the families and what citizens are dealing with, particularly in northern and western urban centers, the places to which black people migrated during the first and second waves of the Great Migration, you saw, in the beginning, people kind of looked at the South and said, this is horrible the way that they're treating black people in the South, but they didn't have very many black people to deal with themselves, so they could have a kind of a holier-than-thou kind of attitude about it. When people started to show up in their neighborhoods, they had to put their money where their mouth was, and they did not respond in a way that was really effective. And in fact, they started to use police forces in much the same way that people in the South had used them, which was to control and confine these new arriving black populations. And that legacy, decades-old legacy, is what is showing up on video. It's just that we didn't have video of it before.
Yeah. So this is very personal to you. So you spent the one-year anniversary with Tamir's mom, right? You stood at the place where he was shot. Why is this so personal to you?
Because I can't understand it, I can't make it make sense, and because I have black children, right? Even if you believe, even if you accept that the person calls the police 911 and says, I believe that it's a kid and I believe that the gun is not fake, and doesn't say to the kid, just put that down, son. Maybe that's the side we're in. Even if you accept that the officers would race to that scene across a park filled with children, putting themselves in danger, putting the rest of those children in danger, up to the person who they believe has the gun. Even if you accept that they then believe that they're about to be shot and shoot him, help me to understand what would make you not render aid to that child once you realize that it is a child. When his sister runs out of that recreation center and she's 14 years old, she's screaming, "You shot my little brother," and you still don't supply aid to that child. When his older brother shows up yelling and screaming that you shot his little brother, and you still You tackle the sister, put her in the back of the police car. You threaten to arrest the brother. When the mother shows up a minute later, you threaten to arrest her, and no one supplies aid to that child. And I'm putting myself in the body of the child. What do you mean? You shot me. I don't know why you shot me. And now you won't let the people who love me comfort me. And the only person who came to that child's aid was a FBI agent who had medical training, who was on the scene. And he showed up. And even when they showed up and the mother showed up about the same time as the EMS, they still would not let her comfort that child. She did not. They made her ride in the front seat of that ambulance. She did not see that child until early in the morning. He died a few hours after that.
The issue with this, obviously, there's an issue with race, but the overriding issue, I think, it is training among police officers.
It's not only that.
No, but the overriding issue is that because how to deal with people of color, how to deal with children, how to deal with someone supplying aid to them, medical attention, how to deal with people who may have mental issues, as is the case in Chicago.
There's some training, but there's also just a culture that exists. I mean, the system is basically working the way it was invented to work and the way it has been tweaked to work, right? If you do not have enough empathy after that child is shot to give aid to him, what makes me believe you had any empathy and humanity when you showed up on the scene? Are you trying to tell me that you were filled with empathy and humanity when you showed up and shot him and it drained out of your toenails the moment after he was shot and on the ground, and you refused to supply him any aid until the EMS showed up? That is unbelievable. It strains credulity.
Yeah. I can tell that you're very passionate about this, and we thank you for coming in and giving a voice to the family as well, because you're close to the family. And Lynn Sweet, thank you so much for coming in this morning as well. We know both these stories are resonating in Ohio and in Illinois as well, and around the country.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. We're following a lot of news. Let's get to it right here on CNN.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.